Uh-oh, is this the last pocket change market report of 2021? You sure as heck better believe it is. Man, what an incredible year that we had, exploring all of the great coins that people like you have been finding out there in the wild. Now, a lot of what you're going to find in this report, just to kind of recap in case you missed the first, 52 of them for 2021, well, we take a look at some of the most awesomest errors and varieties that people have discovered either searching through coin rolls, like going to the bank and picking up some bank rolls, going through, a big old bucket of change, maybe that piggy bank that's been sitting on the corner of your closet for a while. Those are some of the ways that you can easily entertain and enjoy numismatics when you're able to kind of play with house money, right? You guys heard that expression before. But I can honestly say this has probably been one of the most impactful years to date for searching through coins. There's never been probably one of the most fruitful harvests of various, especially errors, of 2021. If you haven't seen any of my PCMR videos, you gotta check them out. A lot of good stuff still to be found, even though we're flipping that calendar to 2022. Another thing to point out, there are other coins on here that are a little bit older. You kind of see that little silhouette of an Indian head cent. Obviously, you probably won't be finding something like this in just good old standard change or coin rolls. You might, but it's kind of a long shot. But if you're like me, you like to go to a local coin shop or show, you could also cherry pick some of these varieties and errors that otherwise have gone overlooked by a dealer, or sometimes they just don't care. I've had a few dealers tell me, well, we don't care about the little stuff. Well, this might be an opportunity for some of you to really, capitalize on that, add something really nice to your collection, or flip it and make some pretty good money. Another thing to note, the same thing as always, is that none of these coins are graded. The big reason why is, well, coin grading is a huge expense. On certain cases, they can be as high as $100 per coin, especially if you're using PCGS for your error attribution. Keep that in mind. If a coin is worth $20, grading it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worth thousands or hundreds of dollars. It doesn't quite work out that way. The cool thing about these varieties and errors that you're going to see today is that they speak for themselves. They're easy to sell, you don't need to grade them, and you're going to be able to rake in more profits as a result. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out this final PCMR for 2021. I want to thank each and every single one of you for an absolutely dynamite year, and I hope, and I'm willing to bet that 2022 is going to be no different. Join me as we continue our trek into the new year. All right, so we're going to start it off here with a 1988 P Washington quarter. As you can see, this one is a little bit off center. I would say about between 10 and 15%. It's a really nice, decent looking coin. I would say it's probably like an AU 55, maybe an AU 58 on its best of days. But a coin like this does circulate, and there are a few of these out there. Now, this one right here is probably going to go in some sort of date set because there are collectors that collect off-center struck coins by date. So they're looking for specific dates to fill their need. And then when one comes along, more than likely there's going to be a few other individuals that want that same coin, as long as it fits within their, I guess, collector profile. But this one happened to sell for $16.25. So that's not bad. That's a good way to kick off this edition of the PCMR. Now here's going to be one of those coins that you could easily cherry pick at a coin shop or a show. Now this one just looks like a really old nickel, right? So this is an 1868 shield nickel. What's really cool, if you look at the obverse of the coin, that's the front of the coin with the shield with all the leaves going across the side there. But you're going to see a bunch of die cracks. You're even going to see a retained die crack or a pre-cud right there where it says God we in the motto. Just being able to identify something like this is actually, part of what makes the search fun. And something like this, you could pick up for around 20 bucks. The coin does appear and look to have been cleaned at one point. Now that might just be the images. Sometimes if you flood your pictures with too much light, they kind of give that shiny, just, awkward appearance to them, where it seems very unnatural. But, something like this, easily overlooked by a coin dealer. However, with well-trained eyes like yours and mine, you could find something like this and add it to your collection. This one right here happened to sell for $110. I mean, that is a heck of a score on even an older coin. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these older 19th century type pieces like shield cents and 3-cent pieces and Indian head cents are going to have a multitude of various different die states. A lot of mid to late die state, a lot of terminal appearing type of dies that have worn down over many strikes and are beginning to show cracks in the armor, literally. So this is a great one right here. Now, if you didn't check out the actual title to this video, let alone look at the little thumbnail, maybe you might have missed the memo. But I'm willing to bet that a lot of you probably don't know that there are quite a few varieties within the 1980s Lincoln cents, most specifically Denver minted coins. Yes, this is great news for you folks there west of the Mississippi River, where, Denver minted coins generally don't come with any sort of huge fanfare, especially when it comes to varieties and errors. But these are coins that if you're not looking for them, you're making a huge mistake. Take this one here, for instance, a 1986 D. This is a Lincoln Memorial cent, and this one is indeed a repunched mint mark. So, just to kind of refresh your guys' memory, repunched mint marks occur all the way up to 1989. And then after that point, the placement of the mint mark was added to the master hub. Whereas before 1990 or 1989, they were still tapping the little letters on the working dies. So they were all different. You still had the human element really playing a role in the error of some of these coins. But you can see that the secondary D on this one is a little bit west of the primary. You can see that there. No, this is not split plating. All right. We actually have another example coming up next that'll show both an RPM and split plating on these copper-coated zinc coins. This one, surprisingly, and this is an actually tough date, so I want to let you guys know, incredibly tough RPM to find. This one sold for $52.95. If you believe it or not, you might want to take a second look at your Denvers. Now here's the other one, 1987D. Yes, this is also a repunch mint mark. Also note the condition of these coins. They're not super high end. They're not a mint state red. They're not something that's going to blow you away, right? It's general circulated coins like this that really hide a really cool piece of treasure. In this case, we have another repunched mint mark, but at the same time, this is a really cool image. I want you guys to take a close look at this. Not only do you have this extra bar of the D that shows the mint mark being repunched to the west of the primary mint mark, but you also have what split plating looks like right up against the mint mark. You can see that right here. You can see some of that exposed zinc. Do not mistake this for a repunch mint mark. They are both completely different with the repunch. Okay, this is there's no split plating here. All right, you really do have a secondary mint mark in that position. Now, this one right here sold for $20.95. I found a few of these myself. They are not so much very easy compared to some of the earlier dated RPMs, but this one right here should always be on the list of varieties to look for in the mid-80s. Okay, again, all the way up to 1989. There's repunchment marks all over the place. Now, getting back to a little bit of normalcy here, we have a 1941 Lincoln wheat cent. Now, these little white spots that you see here on the image are actually, I guess, probably part of the lighting of whatever camera was being used to take this picture. So it's reflecting back on whatever that surface is. But again, not an extraordinary looking piece. I mean, it's circulated quite a bit, but this is a really good date to look for. If you come up close on this one is actually a double to die. This is actually DDO number 1, also referred to as FS101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. Now, the motto is going to show a ton of doubling. Take a look at the word trust right there. You can see the doubling there. You can see the doubling on Liberty as well. Just take a look at the top of the B. It's got the extra loop. Very cool. And then you also have a little bit of doubling on the date. Now, it's going to be more noticeable on the date on much better condition coins, but this one should always be on your list if you're searching through older kind of like bags of wheat cents. This is a good one here. This one ended up selling in its current condition for $34.19. Now here's one of those 19th century type pieces I've talked about when it comes to die breaks and pre-cuds and things like that. This is a very common date for that occurrence. It's an 1865 3-cent nickel. Now take a look at the reverse, right around the between K11 and right around K2. Okay, so if you imagine clock positions on a clock where those areas are, you'll see 4 cracks that go into the wreath and just kind of snake its way around. This is a very nice error. This one ended up selling for $49.99. Coin in this particular condition can be obtained for around $20 to $30. So we do have a little bit of profit here. This one is not a bad cherry pick. Here's another 1941, and guess what? This is another double to die. This is a good one. Now keep in mind that this one has a little bit of a rim bump right here on the reverse. So it's not a perfect coin by any stretch. But if you take a look closely at the motto and the word Liberty, you're going to see a lot of really good doubling on this one as well. It's hard to mistake it, and quite frankly, if you're not using a jeweler's loop or a magnifier to look at these varieties and errors, I don't know what you're doing. You cannot see stuff like this with a naked eye. If you don't have a magnifier or a USB microscope, I do have them available for sale down below in my description box. They're Amazon affiliate links, so I do get paid a little portion as kind of way to support the channel, but if you need it, it's a tool of the trade, and they can be quite inexpensive. You shouldn't pay anything more than $8 to $10 for a handy 10 times power magnifier. You always need one when you're looking through coins like this. This one, a beauty, sold for $170.25. A much better condition coin than the first 41 we looked at earlier in the show, but keep in mind this one did have that little rim bump. So aside from that, I mean, that's a pretty healthy amount of money for this variety. Now this one's really cool, and some will say, yeah, I found stuff like this before, all right, but you have to be very careful on what you have. This is a 2001 New York statehood quarter. This one is also a Denver mint. As you can see on the reverse, it's missing the nickel clad layer. Incredible. This is legit because the coin does not exhibit any sort of corrosion. Sometimes someone will try to kind of replicate this error by dipping it in acid and try and peel away that nickel clad. It'll always show microporosic type of little marks all over the fields for that acid. But this one right here is the real deal. So this one was obviously circulated again. A exposed copper core will look exactly like the color of a pre-1982 Lincoln cent after it's oxidized and had circulated for a while. But this is a really cool find, and surprisingly, this one sold for $89.84, and that's with 2 bits. So that's all it took, and that was a good chunk of money. Here's a 1996p Washington quarter. This is another fantastic looking coin. Now it looks a little bit bigger, and that's because this one is a broad strike error. Now broad strikes commonly occur when the collar that normally engages to hold the coin in during the strike was malfunctioning. So the collar didn't, go up to its normal position during the strike. It was actually stuck. So the metal flow has to go somewhere when the coin is struck, kind of like, like a pancake mix. After you've poured it into a frying pan, it's going to kind of like spread out. Same way with the metal flow on these coins without a collar. Now, this particular example, again, is collected into date sets out there. This one ended up selling for $25. That was a pretty good amount of money there. And here's a 1998p Jefferson nickel, and this one is off center by about 15%. This one's pretty nice. It's believe it or not, this one is circulated a little bit. Kind of hard to believe considering that anyone that catches this coin in their pocket or in their change will probably notice it. But this is a good one. Another tougher date. Anything later dated of Jefferson nickels in off center type of strike. Can be a little bit tough to locate. This particular coin sold for $20, which is a really good amount of money considering its circulation look. Now here's a 1960 Lincoln Memorial set. Now believe it or not, this one is a clipped planchet, but of a different kind. All right, they call this a ragged clip or a fisher. This is more associated with kind of like the end of strip punch out of a planchet. So when you get to that end of strip, it's going to be all ragged to begin with. So it caught a piece of that edge right there, and that's what this one looked like. This one ended up selling for $73.45, and that's with 17 total bids. This must be a very tough date for ragged, clipped type of errors, and that's kind of how it supported this huge sale price, which is quite nice. Now, this is a 2-coin set, both Georgia statehood quarters. These are 1999 Philadelphias. We have the first one on the left, albeit not a good-looking coin. It's got that rim ding that you see there. That is a slightly broad-struck Georgia statehood quarter. The coin on the right has a very apparent curved clip along with some really nice Blakesley effect, this flattening of this rim here on this opposite edge. That's one of those things that you want to look for on a genuine clipped example. This one ended up selling for $31.98 for this 2-coin lot. Now here's a Lincoln wheat set. It's a 1940s something another. So their little mystery dated penny right here is off center by about 20%. If you want one and need one of this particular type, this is a good one. If it had a full date, you're going to end up spending a heck of a lot more money for that example than this one. The coin, again, like I've said, this thing circulated quite a bit. I don't know how anybody can just overlook something like this. Even if you're not a coin collector or any of that stuff, I mean, you would definitely know something was up with this coin. This one ended up selling for $60.45, and that's with 3 bids. Now this rough-looking boy has seen a lot of cash registers, and I probably would say I've probably overlooked something like this and tossed it back at one point. But we have a 1983p Washington quarter. You see that little anomaly above the letter T in Liberty. That's actually a cud die break. A little piece of the die had fallen off, so when it struck this coin, it left a little bit of a void in that area there, which is just raised metal because there's nothing to put pressure or strike that area. It's just going to go unstruck. But this one right here, again, this thing is small. I've also seen similar type of cuds on Kennedy half dollars where it's affected the word Liberty or any one of those letters. But this is a cool one, Who would have thought that something like this, even in this condition, would be worth pulling out of change? This one sold for $16.45. It's more on the minor side because otherwise cud die breaks are huge in the market right now. They are selling for a ton of money and people want them. Now here's just a good old common standard 1967 curved clip. We've seen one of these already on the show. This one does have a Blakesley edge right here. So we got that effect going on this rim where it's nice and flat and smushed. This one right here, pretty decent shape. Again, probably geared more toward a collector that's looking for a specific date of this. This one sold for $9.45. Keep in mind, coins with curved or any sort of clips where there's more than one, because you can find coins with 2 or 3 of them, they're going to be worth a lot more money. All right, so this is kind of like the low bar in the pricing department for curved clips. Oh boy! Well, I'm glad another one of these had sold. I was really beginning to wonder if, just the rarity of these. Like maybe I should have picked one up a few weeks ago when I did my launch video, the discovery video on the 2021 Lincoln Shield Cent retained Cud die break coin. There's a few different progressions. This one has a little bit of a date. The images are a little bit fuzzy, but you know what it is. These things have been fire. All right, it's a pure, straight, simple forest fire that is running out of control. And to give you an idea, the first few examples have sold in that $350 to $400 range a piece. Seeing as how we hadn't seen one in about a week, this one comes up to auction as a buy it now, and it ended up selling for $554.45. Now, the question begs, are you guys looking for this? Because that video I did a few weeks back has over 51,000 views. So that's 51,000 people that know about this coin. And we have another example that just continues to set the bar even higher. I mean, what's the ceiling on this? We'll never know. It could be incredibly rare to the point where this thing might reach 4 figures one day. We'll see. But this is another classic case of a coin that you can find in circulation today that'll pay a car payment and then some. Just kind of think about that for a second. All right, speaking of beauty doesn't matter, we have this really shot 1983p Jefferson nickel. This Philadelphia minted example has a little bit of a cud right there at the base of Jefferson's bust. That's really a common place for these. So if you're not looking for these while you're going through nickels, you're definitely throwing away money. Literally throwing away money. This one right here, even in this condition, and this poor thing looked like it was in a parking lot somewhere, sold for $30.25. Can you believe that? And speaking of which, I'm telling you, Canadian errors are still awesome. They're popular. There's not enough of them to fulfill demand. So when one comes up and it looks decent, and maybe it's a specific key date that they don't have in their collection, they're probably going to settle for something. Now, settle, I say, because this thing has a multitude of problems. It's got this pretty big scratch here on the obverse. It's got all sorts of just scrapes and scratches here along this edge on the reverse. But it's a 1978 Canadian penny, and it's off-center by about 30%, maybe higher. But it's just a marvelous looking coin, even with all of its warts. This one sold for $51.12. So again, proving that condition really sometimes does not matter on these coins. Now, there were a few of these sold, and I'm glad to continuously see these because people are genuinely looking for them. It's a 2000p Sacagawea dollar. This is the first year of this design type. You guys know what I'm going to say. This is the Wounded Eagle reverse, the FS901. As you can see, this has a pair of noticeable die gouges that look like little spears going through the eagle's breast area and into the wing. So this is the one to look out for. There has been 1 or 2 specific sellers that have been just unloading these into the marketplace to the tune of like $75 to $100 a pop. And they're really selling, I would say, probably 6 to 10 of them a week. I mean, that's free money right there, guys. If you're not looking for these, I don't know what else to say. These are awesome, and they should be found. This one right here is sold for a specific amount of money. I don't know what it is because a best offer was accepted. Their original asking price was $128.48. Mind you, that also includes shipping. So probably around $100, 90 to 100, somewhere around there. Again, free easy tendies. Now, this was sold by one of my favorite sellers. J.S. Cabani is cranking out some of the most amazing currency that you'll ever see. This one is a 1969A $5 Federal Reserve note. As you can see, it's got a wet ink transfer. It's a back to front style. It's not 100%. You can see that there was a corner right here that didn't transfer through, but these happen when the actual sheets are being printed. Keep in mind, they're still a little wet. So when they stack on top of each other, you're going to get some of that wet ink transfer to the subsequent sheets above it. And keep in mind that on true, legitimate wet ink offsets, the offset transfer part of it, which is this green on this front face, is going to be mirrored. It's going to be backwards. Okay, if it's not mirrored, it's not legit. So really cool. The back of the note again is flawless. This thing was probably found really early on out of a bank strap. This one sold for $299.95. Really good sale from a great seller. Now this one's pretty cool. I will admit, 1969D. We've seen a few of this particular date and mint marks sold on eBay within the last month or two. So it's not incredibly rare, but this one right here is about 75% off center. You have a full date and mint mark, and that's why I say it's cool. You even have a little bit of Lincoln's face peeking through there. But this one, again, probably made for a error set of some sort, sold for $33.48. All right, another coin again that has circulated. Now, this is a 1982 large date. This is the bronze composition type of this coin. This one is broad struck. But anyways, you see the coin here. It's probably pretty close to the size of a nickel at this point. But again, this is another kind of coin that you could find out there. That might stick out a little bit of a paper roll if you find it. This one sold for $21. Okay, now this is actually one of the more common dates of this type of error. Now here's the other Wounded Eagle, Sacagawea dollar that's sold here in the last day or two. This one's not nearly as in good a shape, but again, it's another good example. In case you forgot, there's the little die gouges there on the breast area of that eagle. This particular example sold for $98.49, and that's with 8 bids total. Another broad strike, this time on the 2001 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This is actually one of the more common years for this type of error. Anything from 98 to 2001. A lot of off-center strikes and a lot of broad strikes. So something to keep in mind. This one right here is in pretty decent shape. You do have some exposed zinc areas. Keep in mind that copper plating is very thin, man. It's razor thin, and it doesn't take much for it to split a little bit. And when it does, you have an exposed zinc core, which is highly susceptible to moisture. So make sure, if you have one of these, that you store it correctly. And if you do own them, make sure you store them correctly in a nice dry environment. This one sold for $16.25. And there's a little bit of a comparison model of that coin that's sold and then a regular Lincoln Cent. You can see just how much bigger it is. And here's another one of my favorite sellers. This time, this coin is really neat. And if I had the means, I would have bought it. Because I love rotated die errors. It's an 1864. This one, I believe, is the copper nickel white cent composition. It's the much thicker coin compared to some of the later date bronze pieces. 1864 Indian head cent, and this thing is in great shape. But the reverse dies are rotated by about 100 degrees. Yes, you guys don't like flipping your coins to look for this error. Maybe you should consider it. Coins and Cards ended up selling this bad boy for $171.01, and that's with 26 bids. Yeah, that's a lot of money. If you found some on some other dates that are much more scarce than this one, you'd be making probably 3-4x on those. This might be the last piece of paper money that we have on the list, but here's a pair of 1976 $2 bills. Both of them have misaligned third prints. So the top note is quite noticeable because, yeah, that third print is shifted way higher on this one. And then the bottom has a little bit of a shift as well. But as you can see, there's some overlap on the top note there as far as the first and third print kind of overlapping a little bit, especially that top right set of serial numbers. But pretty nice grab right here. You know, again, look for stuff like this. They won't be too obvious at first glance, but you know, you see enough of these, you'll know what to look for. This pair right here sold for $44.74, and that's with 14 bids together. There's the back of the notes. Again, the printings were not really good on this. You know, both 1, 2, and 3, they were all kind of cattywampus. So even the back sides of these are kind of off-center. So something to keep in mind. I guess it was a common problem during this particular series of $2 Federal Reserve notes. All right, I'm beginning to love these woody scents. Here's another one, 1921S. It's a decent looking coin with some, you know, with some detail still remaining, but you just take a look at that wood green bark type of toning on there. It's not really toning, it's more of an improper alloy mix. If you guys don't know, okay, these bronze planchets aren't completely copper. They have a little bit of tin in there as well. So when the tin and copper don't completely mix too well and they go to stretch out this, you know, strip to punch out all the planchets, you're going to get things that look like this. Just kind of like that fun looking striation type of wood graining on there. This particular coin sold, I mean, this is a good amount of money. $23.36, and that's with 11 bids. I know a few people that are collecting these by date. This is a scarce one right here. Oh, okay, so we had a few smaller lots. This is actually one of the bigger ones. This is a 9-coin lot of Lincoln Memorial cents. All later date, as you can see, with the exception of the 1970 and a few of the 1980s. But aside from that, they're all off-center struck by some margin, anywhere from about, say, 10% all the way up to about 25%. If you're looking to get started on a off-center date collection, this is a pretty good one to do. But outside of that, I also recommend looking at lots like this, where you know, you can pick it up a little bit cheaper. You can buy it, flip them individually back on eBay, and the hope is to try and double your money. I've successfully done that quite a few times. But also, just a word of note: if the price gets too far out of hand, don't bother bidding. All right, because I've also been burned a few times, if you can believe it or not. It takes a manly man to admit that, but you know, make sure you do your homework on how much some of these individual coins sell for, and then bid accordingly. This one right here sold for $76, and that's with 14 bids. That's roughly $8.50 per coin. So there's a little bit of meat on the bones, but is it worth making at the most $30, $40 profit by reselling all of these and then, you know, having to pack it and ship it and all that great stuff? I don't know. You know, it's your call. If you're selling other things, it could be worth it. There's the back set of images on this lot. The coins actually look pretty nice on this. Check your silver, folks. We got 1962D Franklin half dollar, and it's got a curved clip. Boom. Very nice. This is a classic case of taking a coin that normally would be worth melt, you know, let's say $7. All right, and this one ended up selling for $30.72 with 14 bids. So you've easily 4x'd your money, as opposed to just keeping this in your melt pile. Go ahead and pull it out and sell it, and then buy 4 more Franklin half dollars. That sounds good, doesn't it? And here you go. Here's another off-center 1945 Lincoln wheat cent. This one's not fantastic. It's got some corrosion or carbon spotting on the obverse. So, I mean, if you could settle for that, then, you know, this might be a good one for you. It does have some mint red, but this one is off center by about 10%. And this one ended up selling for $31.36, and that's with 11 bids. Oh, okay. So this one's neat, all right? At first glance, you're like, okay, where's the other set of serial numbers, right? Something is definitely going on here that's really going to make you question what this note is about. But what's really cool, if you looked at the back of the note, hey, take a look at the bottom left corner. Yeah, you see other printed serial number, right? And it's not the same serial numbers that were on the front of the note. See? I-449, and then the back one is I-450. So that's obviously a printing from a different sheet. So what ended up happening, and you can take a look at this image, it's a fold over that probably got jammed up onto another sheet, and it printed the serial numbers off of that particular sheet and overlapped on this sheet that jammed up and folded. It was a cluster, you know what, I would imagine, but this is cool, where you have a note with two different serial numbers. That's not a true, genuine mismatch serial number. This is just an epic failure from the BEP, and I love it. I want to see more of it. This one is a huge note. It ended up selling for $549. Kind of hard to believe that this isn't in a graded holder yet, but I'm willing to bet it might be in one soon. And here's another pretty coin. Yeah, it's a 1909S. It's, a key date. But keep in mind, look at the reverse. It's got no VDB, so it's not that coin. This is just a regular good old 1909S. This one is in really nice shape. Probably borderline AU mint state type of condition. But what really makes this one cook is it's a RPM. Very nice variety. This is the S over horizontal S variety on this coin. This is a beauty. And this one ended up selling for $493.88. And that's with 42 bits. Such a beautiful, beautiful looking coin that, is deserved of the money. If you found one of these and you had paid like $150 for the coin, yeah, I would say making, $300-400 profit. I'm okay with that. Okay, well, statehood quarter errors, yeah, they're still pretty tough to find. This is a Connecticut from 1999. There's a few things going on right here. This is a really nice condition coin. The coin was struck with deteriorated dies. You can just see the heavy flow pattern of the, just the overall flow. These gradiated lines that go all the way around the coin. And the mushy strike. Whoops. You can see the mushiness and the dates and the letters and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit off center. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. It's off center by about 15%. Again, really tough. This one sold for $54.51 through 24 bits. Outstanding. I would love to find one of these and change one day. But maybe not, because I'm on the West Coast. Here's another one right here, 1989P. You can actually see just a little bit of the P mint mark on the right side behind the little Washington hair bow thing. Hair tail bow thing, yeah. Anyways, yeah, back to this. It's a really nice condition off-center struck coin. Looks like about 30% or so. Yeah, tougher date. We see lots of 88s, but very few 89s on the marketplace. So if you find one of these at a coin shop and it's underpriced, it might be a good pickup. This one sold for $63 with 3 bids. Very nice. Tasty, tasty looking coin. And of course, we're going to end it up on probably the ugliest coin of the list. I mean, it's a good variety. Don't get me wrong. The pictures, however, not so great, but the coin in itself has seen a lot of circulation. So take note of this. Coins that look beat up, destroyed, and well circulated still have a lot of love on the secondary market. This is, of course, as you guys know, the Denver minted 04 Wisconsin State Quarter with the high leaf variety. This line right here, this die gouge or whatever you want to call this, is what separates this one from a regular standard Wisconsin quarter. This is the scarcer of the two. There's also a low leaf variety to look for, and these were dumped in the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas region of the U.S. back when they were first distributed, and they could still be found there to this day. So make sure you know that. And as you're looking for these, always flip these over and make sure you look for that high and low leaf variant. This one sold for $72.28, and that's with 16 bids. Another thing that I wanted to point out before we end out the show, that big 2021 Lincoln retained cud scent that sold for over $550. By the way, sold in the state of New York. All right. The first few examples were found in the state of Virginia. Apparently, you could find that coin in a few other states now. So if you do come across them, make sure that it doesn't matter where you're at. If you can find Philadelphia sourced coins, look for them. They're out there, and they're ginormous, absolutely monstrous, expensive coins that you could sell or keep. I don't care. They're going to be worth a lot of money for years to come. But that's going to go ahead and do it, guys. Much salutes to you. Happy New Year. Be safe out there this weekend if you're going to do any activities or any, going to the bars or parties. Be safe. Always call an Uber or Lyft. It's not worth it. I've heard of way too many unfortunate events as a result of these rowdy parties, but you don't need to be that. That's going to go ahead and do it. Thank you guys again for all your views and support in 2021. Don't forget to do those 3 things you see there on the screen in capital letters. Probably this one chance I won't say it. But I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. You guys take care, and I'll see you next year with the next video. Exciting stuff.